Welcome to the Astrology Show with your host, Kelly Fox. Each week, Kelly will give you access to the current transits that are a valuable tool which provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has through our sun sign. Understanding the current planetary influences each week can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. Sometimes events in your life may seem completely random, but there is a pattern to the order of these events, one set in motion in part by you and in part by the planets and stars in the sky and their influence on your life here on Earth. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, if you're going to get that promotion, move to a new city, or fall in love, tune in to the Astrology Show for guidance. It can help you anticipate problems before they occur, give you tools to cope with changes, and help you look forward to the wonderful days ahead. Kelly Fox is a professional astrologer and internet pioneer who launched astrology.com, one of the first and most successful astrology websites. Today, her passion lies with her new site, theastrologer.com, where she brings a modern-day approach to an ancient wisdom. Please join Kelly each week to learn more about how the planets can align for you.
Hi there and welcome to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, talking about the planets this week. And the astro headline of the week is the Sun moving into Sagittarius. So you know what that means. This show is dedicated to all you Sagittarians out there. And if you're not fortunate enough to be a Sagittarian, then perhaps you're fortunate enough to have a Sagittarian in your life. And we know that Sagittarians are the life of the party. So that's what we're celebrating this week, is the Sun moving into Sagittarius. Also this week, the other big news, although not so big news, is Neptune, planet of the all things nebulous and intangible, is turning direct. And I will talk about that more later in the show. But Neptune has been retrograde since June 16th. And so it's more relevant if you're a mutable sign, and that's Gemini, Virgo, Saggy, and Pisces. And you're born in the middle of one of those mutable signs. So Neptune turning direct is more relevant for you. Or if you have any planets that sit in mid-mutable signs, then this is very relevant for you. And later on in the show, I'm going to talk about the last time Neptune was in Pisces. I have a lovely list from 165 years ago and all the relevant things around Neptune moving into Pisces and being into Pisces. What happened when Neptune was in Pisces 165 years ago? I know you're probably thinking, what's that got to do with today? You'd be fascinated, because astrology is all about cycles. So it's cycles within cycles within cycles, and basically everything is connected. So yes, I know some things seem completely disconnected, but maybe some people are disconnected, but really overall nothing is disconnected. Not only are we all connected to each other, but the cycles, the planetary cycles, are all connected. And that's what astrology is basically the study of. It's the study of planetary cycles and the meaning of those cycles. We've got a couple of other aspects, secondary aspects. And on Sunday, we had Mars forming a square to Pluto, which is sort of, I can't think of a polite word for that particular aspect. Mars square Pluto is very much, it's like a bubbling rage that might explode. Luckily, it's behind us. It's not ahead of us in time for the Thanksgiving holiday. It's a little bit more polite this time because Mars is actually in Libra, which is the sign of politeness, forming a square to Pluto in Capricorn. Also tomorrow, when the Sun moves into Sagittarius, We have love planet Venus forming a sextile to Pluto. So what that means is that everything's sizzling in a very seductive sort of way. I'll talk about that more a bit later on in the show. And of course, as always, at the end of the show, I will give you your weekly horoscope. So stay tuned. Oh, and also speaking of horoscopes, you can get your daily, weekly, and monthly horoscope on the OMTimes website. Also, if you missed any of the previous shows, OMTimes archive all the shows from way back, so be sure to go through the archive. And if you missed your show about your sign, you can find it on the OMTimes website. Anyway, so back to the headline of the week with the sun moving into Sagittarius. And of course, all these planetary influences, it always depends on how this influence or this transit affects the planets in your birth chart. So, sun in Sagittarius, many of us at this time will be feeling an urge to broaden our horizons or expand out our small little world and sort of make it bigger. And we can do that in a number of different ways because, there's a few different reasons around that. The main one is that some of us might just be feeling just bored. I've heard that from a couple of people just today, just feeling really bored or having itchy feet or just longing to break free of the mundane. Routine is really a bore. So luckily, we've got this Thanksgiving weekend week here in the US. So that sort of breaks up the challenge of the routine or the boring. And also, it's like a celebration. So we get not just a long weekend, we get an extra long weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for many of us. Also, during the time when the sun is in Sagittarius, where it will be until we're reaching the solstice, which is December 21st. And if you're in the northern hemisphere, the solstice, you'll be celebrating the winter solstice. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, you'll be celebrating the summer solstice. So the next time the sun changes sign, we will be celebrating the solstice. And there's a lot of planetary activity going on in December. So this time in a few weeks, we've got Saturn, Lord of Karma, moving into Capricorn, where it will be for 3 years. Also, the Sun and Venus will be there as well, and Mercury will be retrograde throughout December. There really is a lot of activity going on. We're ramping up now for it, so be prepared. And if you're going to be doing some holiday shopping, I suggest you do it ASAP, simply because of the Mercury retrograde. And our attention will be in other places. It's a time when Saturn in December, when Saturn moves into Capricorn, it's a time of getting serious, thinking about the long term. Anyway, back to this week. We've got the sun moving into Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is a sign that's very inspirational. Sagittarian, and if you know any Sagittarians, they like to look at life from a higher level or a broader point of view. Details, they're not so great with details unless, of course, they've got Virgo influences in their chart. But typically, the pure energy of Sagittarius is very much about adventure and exploration and really not a lot gets them down. So another good use of when the sun is in Sagittarius is to plan some travel. It doesn't have to be very far. And if you don't come forward the expense or the time, then just like having dinner at a different restaurant from a different culture, or meeting people from different cultures or different places or faraway places, even getting out into the wilderness. Now, I know, of course, we're moving into winter, so it doesn't seem very appealing. But, you know, in the true spirit of Sagittarius, camping in the wilderness in the middle of the winter doesn't seem so outrageous. I know to all you Virgos out there, you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, what? But hiking in the woods, camping trips, basically it's like the true essence of Sagittarius is getting to the truth. It's sort of like everything bubbles down to pinpoint the truth. No matter what it is, it's like the truth. And if you think of the symbol of Sagittarius, it's the archer. The archer in a modern day sense, where you have an archer shooting arrows to get to pinpoint the bullseye or the target. So if you take that metaphor and you apply it to Sagittarius, they're seeking the truth, and they will shoot arrow after arrow until they get to that target. The pinpoint of the truth is really what this sign is all about. Now, of course, the symbol or the icon for Sagittarius is the centaur. And the centaur is half human, half horse. And it's a mythological creature or character. Doesn't really exist, but if you read the Tales of Narnia, I don't even know why I'm bringing this up, but if you read the Tales of Narnia, I'm thinking of the centaurs in that story and how they were very real. But basically the centaurs are very much like, they're very sporty, very athletic, just like Sagittarians, always physically active. I will cover this a bit later on, but Sagittarius is a fire sign, it's a mutable sign, so it's always on the go, always moving, always looking to connect or find their truth. Sagittarius is a sign of travel. Oh, we're going to take a short break. After the break, I will continue with Sagittarius, so stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi there, this is Kelly Fox and this is the Astrology Show, and I am talking about the Sun in Sagittarius, and this show is dedicated to all you Sagittarians out there and anybody else who is fortunate enough to have a Sagittarian in their life. And I was just saying that Sag is a sign of travel. Its ruling planet is Jupiter, and Jupiter is the planet of travel. So this is also a great time not only to plan for travel, like it's broadening your horizons, but it doesn't just mean planning a trip. It actually means expanding the mind as well. So if you can take a class or a course or a workshop or go to a conference, I know we're busy this week with Thanksgiving, but if you can grow some part of yourself, the mind, I'm thinking, not physically, even better. But actually, on that note, on the physical, Jupiter, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, on the flip side, because, I'm always harping on about there's a shadow side to all these planetary influences, there's excess. So Jupiter is also the planet of excess. So it's like, be careful not to increase your waistline, really, is the bottom line here when it comes to Sagittarius. So what else can we expect now with the sun moving into Sagittarius tomorrow, where it will be until the solstice on December 21st? And as I was saying before the break, there's a lot of influences we're going to be expecting in Capricorn. A lot of stuff going on in Capricorn, and this is just sort of like the slow build-up to that. A lot of Capricorn influences. But right now we're in the season of Sagittarius, so it's all about adventure and feeling adventurous, and maybe not so much camping in the wilderness, but hey, it was just an example I could think of at the time. But some of the Sagittarians I've known in my life, I could picture them camping in the wilderness in the snow. And so also Sagittarius is a sign of philosophy. So the sign of philosophy, what does that mean? So Sagittarius looks at life from a higher point of view, from a broader perspective. They're the ones that can connect the dots. So Sagittarius is a sign of the philosopher. So it's all about the meaning of life. Looking at things from a world view rather than just a mundane, day-to-day type of view. It's also about our belief systems. It's like, what do we believe in? So we've got Jupiter, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, and also Neptune. They're the two planets of spirituality, beliefs, exploring our belief systems, and also incorporating foreign cultures or foreign ideals into our own belief systems. That's a really great use of this energy, Sun in Sagittarius. Next year, of course, in November, I'm jumping ahead of myself, but November 2018, Jupiter will be moving into Sagittarius. So Jupiter will be in its own sign of Sagittarius, and that's basically Sagittarius on steroids, where we incorporate other different belief systems into our own to help us get a better sense of our own beliefs and our own experiences by incorporating other systems into place. So famous Sagittarians, I've got a little list here. I don't usually do that, but I thought, why not? So famous Sagittarians, people celebrating their birthdays this month. I say this month, but through the winter solstice, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Scarlett Johansson, Miley Cyrus, Katherine Heigl, Christina Applegate, Don Cheadle, Ben Stiller, and also just a note on that, Sagittarians also are known for their sense of humour. They're the comedians of the zodiac. We also have Lucy Liu, Britney Spears, Julianne Moore, Ozzy Osbourne, Tyra Banks, Jay-Z, Terry Hatcher, Felicity Huffman, Jennifer Connelly, Taylor Swift, and Jamie Foxx. So if you have the sun in Sagittarius, you're born when the sun was in Sagittarius, probably people know you as the adventurer, the explorer. It's sort of like the traveller, the wanderer, not afraid to take a step out of the comfort zone. Of course, if this is not you, there are other influences in somebody's natal chart. So we're not all just one sign. we're a combination of all the planets in different signs at the time we were born. So sometimes if these characteristics don't fit, it's because maybe perhaps you might have a Virgo moon, and so then that brings you down, it grounds you a bit, or you might have a Pisces moon, so it might mean something else and something else. But when I'm talking about the energies of the planetary influences, it's the pure energy that I'm referring to. So the thing about if you're born when the sun was in Sagittarius, it's sort of like you're always moving on from one experience to the next. You really need to feel it. You really need to sort of, you're not afraid to sort of dive in head first, if you were born under the Sagittarius sun. And probably a traveller, or if not afraid of foreign or different cultures. What else about Sagittarius? So, your outlook on life is probably broad. You're not staying within maybe where you were born or around you were born. You've moved away, or you've incorporated something into your life that you didn't actually grow up with. Education is also important for Sagittarius. Sagittarius is also the sign of the teacher. So professors, teachers of any type, Sagittarians make excellent teachers and educators. Because Sagittarius, really, I think the key word for Sag is knowledge is power. And so you get knowledge through education and understanding and looking at things from a higher point of view, not just the superficial, but really Sagittarius is a sign that's known as going into one topic very, very deeply. Sagittarius is also very spirited and generous, fun-loving, and as I said at the very beginning of the show, the life of the party, lots of socialising and events, and as I said, probably the comedian of the zodiac and a little bit goofy and definitely athletic. Now, if you have your natal moon in Sagittarius, that's the similar flavour, but the moon is all about emotions and how we feel, how we nurture ourselves, how we nurture others, our day-to-day life. When the moon is in Sagittarius, and just before I go on with that, if you don't know where your moon is or your other planets, please get a free chart wheel off my website, theastrologer.com/chartwheel. I'm offering chart wheels, and you can follow along each week to see where your natal planets are or where the planets were at the time of your birth. So if you have moon in Sagittarius, and I know this one very well, it's all about keeping the truth alive. It's about like looking for purpose. You need to have purpose in your life. If you have a Sagittarius moon, it's like seeking the truth and a lifelong learner, and probably teacher, but a constant learner, because Sagittarius is all about knowing and the truth, and knowledge is power, and understanding life from a higher level, and very much metaphysics would be of interest to somebody that has moon in Sagittarius. Also, a key word for someone with moon in Sagittarius is enthusiasm. Very, very enthusiastic, and of course, a shortcut to thinking about the energies or the planetary energies or the astrology energies is all about, think of the ruling planet. So when you have the moon in Sagittarius, the ruler of that is Jupiter. Jupiter is a planet of optimism, hope, enthusiasm, positivity, discovery, expansion, and of course, as I said just before the break, the flip side of that, because there's always a shadow or a flip side, expansion could mean excess as well. Sometimes people with moon in Sagittarius, they're not sensitive to others. Say a moon in Cancer might be highly sensitive, moon in Sagittarius, not as sensitive, but, we're all made up of different ingredients, let's just say. They're very spontaneous and very much a lover or seeker of the truth, no matter what that truth might be. If you have Mercury in Sagittarius, Mercury is planet of the mind, And Sagittarius, when it comes together with Mercury, I tend to think of, I know this sounds like a really strange example, but I tend to think of like a sailor. A sailor, meaning a sailor, you know, like not only has a girl in every port, but a sailor will just say what's on their mind and blurt something out, and it's always quite funny. Of course, insatiably curious mind with Mercury in Sagittarius has definitely a world view, because Sagittarius is the sign of looking far away or faraway places. And so Mercury in Sagittarius, knowledge of any type appeals to you, particularly like broad-based information that isn't loaded with facts and figures, and tends to be a bit more abstract. That's where Mercury in Sagittarius is more comfortable with sort of abstract or brainstorming types of things. And then, of course, always, as I keep saying, has a universal outlook and an approach that doesn't really exclude anything. It's basically all-encompassing. And, of course, learning a foreign language is definitely something that falls in the realm of Mercury in Sagittarius. Mercury, planet of the mind, of language, and, of course, Sagittarius is foreign people and places. So very good if you have Mercury in Sagittarius, very good to learn a foreign language. If you have Venus in Sagittarius, Venus in Sagittarius, you are the bachelor or the bachelorette of the zodiac. You will not be comfortable in a relationship routine unless, of course, you have other planets there, as I always have to emphasize. But oh, we're going to take a break. That went by so quickly. Okay, stay tuned and I will continue after the break.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi there, I'm Kelly Fox, and this is the Astrology Show. And just before the break, I was talking about the Sun in Sagittarius. It's moving into Sagittarius on Tuesday, where it will be until the solstice on December 21st. Now, I'm talking about all the different flavors of Sagittarius, like if you have Sagittarian Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus. Just before the break, I was talking about Venus in Sagittarius. And if you don't know if you have Venus in Sagittarius, I urge you to get a free chart wheel from my website, theastrologer.com/chartwheel. And then you can follow along each week when I do this radio show to see where your planets are and how the transiting planets are affecting you. So Venus in Sagittarius in a relationship is very much your need for freedom. You like a wide variety of friends. You like to be able to explore routines, not so much up your alley when it comes to relationships. You're also someone that with big dreams, very idealistic. That's very Sagittarian, and it's just trying to find that balance between being in that committed relationship and also retaining your independence. If you have Mars in Sagittarius, Mars in Sagittarius, definitely, I want to say firecracker, always on the move, always on the go, always like just getting stuff done, very athletic and energetic, natural athletic ability, very competitive. And if you tuned in earlier on in the show, I talked about the centaur. That is the icon or the symbol of Sagittarius is the centaur. And in mythology, the centaur was very on the go, very athletic, very competitive, sort of like mucked around a bit, but in a nice jovial sort of way. Very independent, very upbeat. Okay, so moving right along with Sagittarius, your ruling planet is Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the planet of luck and good fortune. On the flip side, it's of excess. Now, Jupiter brings big opportunities, big advantages into life. And so if you know of a Sagittarian, you're fortunate enough to have one in your life, you might see that sometimes the Sagittarian, they just have this lucky streak. And that's because of Jupiter, their ruling planet. And nothing seems to really bother them too much, unless, of course, they've got some influences of Scorpio, the sign before Sagittarius, weighing in, because sometimes we have the inner planets are in the sign before or after our sun sign. So Jupiter, planet of luck and good fortune, is all about, again, looking at life from a higher perspective. It is, it sort of blows up anything that it touches, and things, and to others it might look like, if you're a Sagittarian, that things just fall into your lap. But really, it's sort of like being in the right place at the right time. I'm thinking of a couple of Sagittarians that I know. They always seem to be in the right place at the right time, and things just come to them. But of course, there's a lot of hard work that goes into that. So Jupiter, as I said, also rules excessive behavior. And it's sort of like, if you want to party now, you're going to pay the price later, particularly when the credit card bill comes in. So Jupiter rules the sign of Sagittarius. It also is the co-ruler of Pisces. And what happened was, in ancient times, before the outer three planets were discovered, Jupiter ruled Pisces as well. But once Neptune was discovered, then Neptune was assigned to Pisces, and then Jupiter became the co-ruler of Pisces. So Sagittarius is a fire sign. So fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sag, are always on the go, very vital. There's a lot of vitality from the fire element. With the fire element, everything is immediate, immediate, intense. Fire signs act really fast. They act on their impulses very quickly. They feed off excitement, adventure. And as a result, fire signs lead pretty interesting lives, or anybody that has a lot of planets in fire signs. Some other signs might think they live on the edge a bit too much for comfort. But, I'm thinking of examples like go-kart racing or salsa dancing. What else? Anything that's just fast-paced, action-packed, adventurous. This is all about fire signs. They're hot-blooded. But, on the flip side, that they can just burn out just as quickly as the enthusiasm that they start with. Also, with a fire sign, they're very much always on the go. It's very hard to sort of tie them down. Now, Sagittarius is also a mutable sign, and the mutable signs are the most flexible of the zodiac. And the mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces, and they're very changeable. Again, for better or for worse, it just depends on which side you're looking at this. They don't get stuck in one way of thinking or one way of being or doing. Very much sort of easy come, easy go. And again, with Sagittarius, it's like, things could be easy come, easy go. They don't get too caught up. But as I just said, it's like if there's a lot of Scorpio energy, then that just changes the dynamic to Sag, or there's a lot of Capricorn, which is the next sign after Sag, that changes the dynamic as well of the pure essence of this Sagittarian energy. Now, moving right along to your favorite part of this sun sign show that I do every month, and that is compatibility. So I'm going to go through Sagittarius compatibility with each of the 12 signs. And this is what I do each month with the show, is give you an overview of the sign itself, and then give you some compatibility, and that's always the fun part, right? Okay, so Sagittarius and Aries. So the golden rule of sun sign compatibility in astrology is if the elements are the same, it's a fantastic place to start when it comes to compatibility. Aries and Sagittarius, what a fantastic team you make. You have twin fiery natures, always on the go, and you just get each other because you're both fire signs. You're both very independent. You understand each other's need for freedom, and the only flip side here is long-term plans. Fire signs live very much in the here and the now. Sagittarius and Taurus. This is an interesting combination because Taurus wants stability, reliability, security, and Sagittarius wants freedom and independence. So Taurus is all home-loving, wants to make a comfortable haven, and Sagittarius considers the weird, wide, wonderful world to be home. An interesting combination, a lot to learn from each other, that's for sure. Sagittarius and Gemini. Here's another rule. Opposites attract. So Sagittarius and Gemini are opposite signs of the zodiac. And what a fun couple Sag and Gemini make. You don't like to waste time with deep and meaningful, although Sag might. Both of you get really bored very, very quickly, very easily. You both like fun and adventure, and you'll appreciate that in each other. It's all about getting out into the world and trying new experiences. And with you two, it's sort of like anything and everything goes. Next up, Sagittarius and Cancer compatibility. Let me think about this one. This is a really interesting combination. And again, this is just sun sign compatibility. This is not the be-all, end-all with astrology compatibility. This is just sun sign. So you might have a couple. One's a Sagittarius, one's a Cancer. But on the flip side, the Sagittarius might have a Cancer moon, the Cancer might have a Sagittarius moon, and then it's a match made in heaven. So I'm just sticking to sun sign compatibility right now, so please don't get offended. Okay, so Sagittarius and Cancer, this energy is very, very different. Cancer is the sign of the home body. Cancer likes to be at home. Cancer feels safe being at home. If you think about the symbol of Cancer, it's the crab with the shell on their back, so they can retreat into their home at any time necessary. Whereas Sagittarius is the sign of the adventurer, likes to be out in the world, exploring. So those energies are very different. There has to be a lot of other planetary influences to make that one really work. Next up, we have Sag and Leo. Both of you are fire signs, so need I say more. So you're both very optimistic, impulsive, soaring to new heights together, always on the go, looking for the big adventure. But you're very fiery, both fire signs, but very fiery temperaments. So you might have these explosions, but then Sag will get over it a lot faster than what Leo may. Sagittarius and Virgo, this is a really different different energies coming together, because Virgo likes to focus on the detail, whereas Sagittarius likes the big picture. So it's sort of like if you can work it out, who does what within the relationship, then that's a giant head start. I think it might be a better match with colleagues, work colleagues on a work team. Sag and Libra, this is a really, really, really great match. You really get each other. And signs 2 apart really get each other. So that's another rule for compatibility. It's like you both like social activity, although Libra might be more of the glue to the relationship or holding on a bit tighter, because Sag likes freedom, but Libra is the sign of relationship. So if you can work that out, it's a really great match. Sag and Scorpio, you're very, very different. Let me think here. You both like to find and seek out the truth. Scorpio is very intense, maybe a bit too intense for Sag. But I think because your signs next to each other, you'll probably have inner planets in common, and that will be the glue between you. So Scorpio is very possessive, whereas Sag is the opposite. So you'd have to work that out. Sagittarius and Sagittarius together. I'm just trying to think. I don't actually think I've ever come across that combination, that coupling in real life. Or have I? I don't think so. I can't think of anybody that comes to mind, 2 Sagittarians together in a couple. Wow, it's going to be a pretty wild ride with 2 Sagittarians together. Absolutely make great buddies. You get each other. You have the same idea about what's fun, probably out partying a lot. Your relationship's probably flexible, informal, but you both definitely need freedom. Maybe you met through an education route or something like that. Sagittarius and Capricorn, again, they're next to each other in the zodiac, probably have inner planets very similar. On that note, we're going to take a short break. After the break, I will continue, so stay tuned.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Tune in to The Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Welcome back to the Dog Show. Up next we have Satchmo. Satchmo is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right, a group known especially for their couch-snuggling, ball-chasing, face-licking, and of course companionship. Now let's see him in action.
Look how he makes eye contact with his person.
That's actually known as the treat stare.
How intuitive, and now he appears to be excitedly turning in circles.
Ah, the happy dance will come in with this group.
But really, the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Satchmo is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
So, hi there, welcome back to the Astrology Show. I'm your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, talking about Sagittarius. And just before the break, I was talking about Sagittarius and Capricorn compatibility. Now, it sort of seems like it would be a strange or different pairing because Capricorn is very serious, very much focused on the long term. Sagittarius is very much about the here and now. Can be undisciplined to Capricorn's disciplined nature. Sagittarius thrives on freedom and risk-taking, whereas Capricorn is very conservative and highly disciplined and values security. Unless there are other factors involved, it might be a little bit of a challenge. But again, on a working team, it might be really great. Sagittarius and Aquarius, this is a really great match because you're both freedom-loving, freedom-seeking. You both have philosophical natures. You like to explore an idea till there's nothing left to explore, I guess is one way. You both thirst for knowledge and experience and freedom, but sometimes too much freedom is not a good thing. And then finally, Sagittarius and Pisces. You're both mutable signs, and there are a lot of similarities because of that. You both share a planetary ruler, which is Jupiter, so it's very big on ideals and ideas. Sometimes the fantasy of something, but you know, in other ways, you could be very different because, well, I guess you're both indecisive because you're both mutable signs, changeable, go with the flow. But in another way, Pisces is very sensitive, and Sagittarius not so sensitive. So I think that's the issue there between these two signs that need to be worked out just a little bit. So moving right along, this week as well, the other headline is that Neptune is turning direct. It's been retrograde since June 16th, and Neptune is about halfway through its cycle right now. It stays in one sign for about 14 years. So it moved into Pisces April 2011, and it will be in Pisces through January 2026. So what does that mean? When Neptune's in Pisces, Neptune is the ruler of, and I've got to launch straight into this, and I know I mentioned it last week with Jupiter in Scorpio, but it's coming up again because Neptune turning direct in Pisces. Neptune is the ruler of glamour and anything glamorous, things that appear but not really what they seem. So, of course, I can't help but mention the Hollywood scandals going on. Even the political ones are coming up as well. It's like Hollywood seems glamorous and amazing, and everybody's beautiful and rich and famous, but there's an underbelly. There's a dark side to Neptune, and it's what's coming up now. Coupled with Jupiter in Scorpio right now, Jupiter, what's the word? Jupiter exacerbates anything that it touches, and being in Scorpio, it's all about the truth. The truth is blowing up, it's exploding, and with Neptune turning direct in Pisces, the explosion of the Hollywood glamour, and we're seeing the underbelly of that. Not so pretty. So that's my first thought with these planetary influences going on right now. Neptune in Pisces is also about spirituality, the arts, music, intuition, psychic ability, fashion, glamour, as I said, Hollywood, charity, compassion. It's also water. Neptune rules water. And Poseidon, you might have heard of Poseidon. That's another name for Neptune. So things in the media or the news lately might be around water. Also institutions, drugs, alcohol. So with Neptune turning direct, when the other planets change direction, like turn retrograde or move forward, it doesn't really affect us on a personal level, unless, of course, we have a planet that's exactly at that degree in that sign that the outer planet is changing direction on. That all came out very convoluted. So Neptune is turning direct at 11 degrees Pisces. So if you have anything at 11 degrees Pisces, any planet in your natal chart or any mutable sign at 11 degrees, and that would be Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, then Neptune turning direct will be affecting you very much so. And so what that means is it turned retrograde June 16th of this year. And so anything that sort of got put on hold or got really confusing around June now suddenly will come to light. The confusion will dissipate or go away. But again, on that note, we're coming up to a Mercury retrograde in a couple of weeks. So that's all about confusion as well. It's sort of like with astrology, you know, sometimes energies contradict or conflict with each other, and that's just the way it is. Okay, other planetary influences this week. On Sunday, we had Mars square Pluto, and that's pretty heavy because Mars is a planet of anger, and Pluto is Lord of the underworld. What can I say? Good outlet for this energy is all about physical activity or exertion. On Tuesday, we've got Venus forming a sextile to Pluto. That's very, very sizzling energy. And we've got Venus, love planet Venus in seductive Scorpio. Sextile is opportunity. Pluto is when it's in a positive aspect or a positive angle, it's very, very sexual. There's a lot of sexual energy this week, just in time for Thanksgiving, hey. So Venus forming a sextile to Pluto, this is very much Scorpio, Capricorn. This is your week. Okay, and then finally, we've got Mercury forming a trine to Uranus on Saturday. This is like our minds are just strongly stimulated and turbocharged. It's like many of us will be channeling, brainstorming from above. So I know we're on a 4-day long weekend here in the US, but it's like brainstorming is a fantastic time this week to do so. So moving right along to your weekly horoscope. So the weekly horoscope, if you are an Aries, so don't be surprised to find yourself thinking about religion and beliefs this week because the sun is moving into Sagittarius. So it's sort of like explore faiths other than your own and from different cultures. If you're a Taurus, it'd be really good to give a friend the benefit of the doubt, even if they are behaving oddly, because, you know, you might not have all the facts. And it's definitely not up to you to be Judge Judy. If you are a Gemini, confusion lifts on your career path, and you may have a sudden change of heart about where you're heading because Neptune is turning direct, and that's a good thing. So never be afraid to reassess your direction, and you are a mutable, flexible sign. If you are a Cancer, travel difficulties seem to resolve themselves, yay, just in time for this week. And it's a good time to have some time off if need be. If you are a Leo, pay back a kindness or repay a debt. Others have been good to you recently, so you are a loyal sign, and I know that you don't forget such things. So put your own interests on the back burner, temporarily, of course, and step in when someone else needs you. If you are a Virgo, a beautiful spiritual connection between you and your lover is highlighted this week. And it's an excellent moment for marriage or a long-term commitment. You might be growing closer, so honor that with some kind of acknowledgement. If you are a Libra, a long-standing health niggle may start to clear up, thankfully, too much to your relief. But don't get it unchecked. Always get everything checked and make a new resolution to seek professional medical advice next time you're concerned. If you're a Scorpio, you might have been suffering from writer's block or artist block. You'll be relieved to know that your imagination is about to return because Neptune, planet of creativity, is turning direct. So it's a very creative week. So be sure to do your thing, whatever that may be, and it will do you good. If you are a Sagittarius, unfortunately, difficult family members are likely to become more, well, no, not unfortunately, fortunately, difficult family members are likely to become much more agreeable, which makes your life so much easier. Capitalize on the goodwill by throwing a dinner or a party. If you're a Capricorn, you're experiencing a sudden clarity in your communication style, which makes it easier for you to get what you want from others. Speak clearly, directly, and of course, kindly, and watch how the results pour in. If only it was this easy all the time. If you are an Aquarius, expect financial blockages to start to resolve this week. You still have to work and you still fret about money, but you've been shown now how these things come and go in cycles. And as I said, astrology is all about the cycles of life. So if you're an Aquarian, this week you should be feeling a little less stressed. I know, it's the week of Thanksgiving, and I know it is quite stressful if you are traveling, but it's not as bad as what it could be. And I really think that last year, Thanksgiving, I have to pull out my last year's calendar, that we did have a Mercury retrograde. So it's sort of like Mercury retrograde during the holidays. And finally, if you are a sweet, sweet Pisces, others turn to you for advice, which you're only too happy to give, as always, because yours is the sign of compassion and understanding and empathy. But here's the thing. Don't take it too personally if your wisdom is then ignored. If someone asks you for advice, definitely don't take it personally. You can only be a guide, and if people don't want to listen to you, they won't. And really, don't overthink it. And things won't be that bad because your ruling planet Neptune is turning direct this week, and so that's great news because a lot of Pisces have had their plans put on hold since mid-June. And Pisces, the sign of creativity. Anyway, that's it for me for tonight. Thank you for joining me on the Astrology Show. I wish you all a great week, and I will speak to you next week.